high ticket dropshipping isn't just about bigger profits. It's about overcoming the challenges that other businesses simply can't do. But what happens when you realize that
everyone's talking about ad costs going up, but what if I told you that high ticket dropshipping actually makes it easier to absorb these costs? Well, here's why it's possible.
when people think about dropshipping, they often assume low margins mean low profits. But here's why high ticket dropshipping defies that logic.
You've heard us talk about the importance of speed and customer experience and customer expectations. So how can high ticket dropshipping actually meet that demand? Well, the truth is, it's all about
What would it mean for you if you could work from anywhere in the world while earning serious money through dropshipping? Well, here's the catch. Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording podcast episodes or running our own e-commerce businesses, you'll find us helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping stores. So if you're ready to build your own 6 or even 7-figure online business, then head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. Now, sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
So in today's video, Lewis and I are going to be talking about why high-ticket dropshipping is going to dominate this year. And we truly believe that. We want to dive into the reasons why we think that and how you can capitalize on high-ticket dropshipping if you do want to get into an online business this year. So Lewis, we've seen this model gain a lot of traction recently, but can you explain initially, just so that we're all on the same page, what is high-ticket dropshipping and how does it work?
Yeah, of course. So high ticket dropshipping is when you sell more expensive products, but the premise of dropshipping still applies. So you're still not holding any inventory. There's no stock. You haven't got an office or a bedroom full of cardboard boxes that you're waiting to ship out the door. You still run the whole thing from a computer, and you partner with suppliers who ship those products directly to your customers. Now, with high ticket dropshipping, that obviously means that the price of the items is a lot higher. The ticket price is a lot higher. So therefore, when you make your percentage margin, your markup on those items, the profit you make in every transaction, in every sale, is a lot higher. Therefore, you need less of those orders. And people say, well, why would you mark up a product and why wouldn't people just buy it directly from the supplier? Well, the type of suppliers we partner with don't sell directly to the public. They don't sell directly to consumers in a lot of cases, although they might, that can vary. But just to kind of clarify why it works is we're taking a trade price, marking it up to a retail price and making the margin. So it's nice and profitable. You make more per sale, way more, hundreds times more profit per sale in a lot of cases versus selling cheap products from AliExpress or Temu and sites like that. You still don't need to store any of those products or handle shipping. So it works it's kind of all the good bits of the old model of dropshipping, but with all of the bad parts removed. So you get to focus on quality, giving your customers a really nice experience, making more profit per sale, and having a nice low admin lifestyle business that you can run from a laptop.
Exactly. I think that's the premise of high ticket dropshipping. It's a lot of it is down to the fact it's such a low overhead cost way to sell products to customers. And dropshipping, if people are worried about dropshipping, if it's going to go anywhere over the next few years, well, to bring it right down to its actual definition, dropshipping, Lewis, it purely means getting a product to a customer. That is dropshipping. It's just a method of fulfillment when somebody buys something from you. If you're dropshipping, it means that you get the product sent directly from the supplier to the customer without you acting as a middleman. So, Lewis, if people come to you and say, is dropshipping going anywhere this year or in the next few years, you can simply bring it right back to the fact that it's just a fulfillment method.
Yeah, exactly. I was speaking to someone the other day and they were like, yeah, but isn't this dropshipping thing quite new? And do you think it'll be around for a while? I was like, do you realize it's been around since way before the internet, in terms of mail order magazines? Do you remember the Argos magazine, which I think's still going strong? When you used to order a huge garden table out of the Argos catalog, it didn't necessarily come from Argos's little shop on their warehouse, although they do carry a lot of stock. Some of the items were just enormous, and so they'd have to come directly from the supplier. So when ordering, all Argos would do is forward that order onto the supplier. They'd pay the trade price for it, and so then they would keep the retail amount from the customer. The item would go out from the supplier, and you'd be not only none the wiser, but also it would make no difference to you. It's not like they were tricking you. You know, your box with the garden table would turn up and it would just have the manufacturer's name on it and maybe like an Argos shipping label that they asked the supplier to attach to it. So just to clarify, it's been around for long before the internet, and no, I don't think it's going anywhere.
That it can't go anywhere. I mean, if you say that dropshipping is going to go anywhere, then you're saying that you don't believe that businesses of the future will ever send a product from the supplier direct to the customer. And we know for many logistical reasons and profit reasons, of course, and margin reasons, it makes so much sense and less complexity for the product to go directly to the customer. It also means it's great for us as online business owners that want to run lifestyle businesses, because we don't have to have a bedroom with piled up cardboard boxes and have to do all the delivery notes yourself. You can get that all done with the supplier. They'll look after the delivery. And another great thing about dropshipping and why it's so popular at the moment, I think, Lewis, is the fact that you don't have to spend unless you sell. So the overhead costs are below £100 a month, which is like unheard of in starting a new business with most businesses. The only time it goes above that you the money that you spend beyond the first £100 every month is when you're actually selling. So it's the cost, like the supplier cost to buy the product. You only buy that once the product's been sold. The ad cost, you're only spending money on ads when you're generating sales from those ads as well. So I think that's a big thing, isn't it, Lewis, is the fact that dropshipping is so accessible for people who are looking to get into a business without spending thousands when they first start.
Yeah, what other business models that you can run passively without having to just trade your time for, because you could argue, oh, a service-based business. Okay, fine. You want to create a service-based business, but then you are the service. Your time is the service. So yes, there are other businesses that have low overheads, but what other systems like this that you can set up, have a scalable and value-driving asset of a business that you could actually sell. You could exit the business and sell the asset of the business one day without having to put your time in once you've put the systems and maybe like the virtual assistant in place to run it. It's just incomparable, and also that you own the business. It's not like it's dependent on Amazon's terms of service or policies where like any moment they could just be like, oh, sorry, you broke a term of service. We've shut you down completely. Your business is gone overnight. All the people that depended on you, doesn't matter. We don't care. It's shut down. So I think it's quite rare to have a business model like that. And so, yeah, absolutely. Overheads are minimal with this. There are still some overheads. You are running a business, of course. But if you think about the ad cost that you mentioned, which probably will become your biggest expense, your marketing. Remember, you're not leasing a retail premises. You're not having to hire loads of staff. You've not got these huge overhead bills that a lot of the retailers do. You can divert that money into marketing, into ads. And if you can acquire those customers profitably with ad spend, which by the way is much easier to do when you're making a lot more profit per sale with higher ticket products. So if you're making £600 in profit on a sale, you can be pretty average at running ads and spend maybe £100 to acquire that customer, or even £200 if you're nowhere near as good, that you're still making £400 net profit on that sale, because the 600 minus the 200 it cost you to acquire that customer still nets you 400. So that's why it works. And I think the way people view ad spend sometimes, if they haven't run ads before, can be problematic. So think about ads as, imagine you've got a machine and you put £1 in and you get £4 out. And so you put another £1 in and you get another £4 out. You take one of those pounds and you put it back in and another 4 come out. People say, well, why would I spend so much on ads? Or like, I don't want to spend so much on ads. But if you had a machine like that, how many pounds do you think you'd put in? You'd keep doing it, right? Until it stopped giving you £4 out. And so that's the premise with ads. You only scale up that ad spend as it's profitable, as you're seeing the return. And so eventually, if you were spending £30,000 a month on ads and it was like, wow, that's so much money, it's a lot of money. But if you're generating £300,000 a month in revenue coming in from the business, 30 grand's nothing, right? So it's all relative to how much you bring in. And we wouldn't just jump there from day one. We'd scale up to it sequentially, gradually.
That's right. Yeah, I think when you think about ad cost, it has to be viewed differently as every other type of cost, because you're only going to increase your ad spend when you've got a profitable return coming back. It's different to the other types of overhead costs that you'd buy. You wouldn't deliberately go up in price with your Shopify store. That's the overhead costs, how much you pay per Shopify, because you've got to have a direct correlation to how much money you're bringing back in to justify it. But you get that with ads, and there's something very beautiful about the ad machine when you get it to a point where you're putting money in and you're getting more money back out every time that you put money in. And so it's a machine that you're just going to keep paying, keep going up to. Imagine it's an arcade machine, Lewis, and it was constantly paying out a return on ad spend every time that you put money in. I don't think it exists, but imagine if it did exist in a fairground.
It's like those tickets that you get, and then when you get like 1 million of them, you can go and buy a big cuddly bear or a slingshot or something at the arcade. So it's yeah, that's the concept anyway. That's the premise. That's the way to think about ad spend.
Exactly. Yeah. Put yourself in that fairground, build your own machine that pays you back when you put money in. It's not like when I went to, I've been to piers around, UK seaside resort, Western Supermare, where my grandparents live. The 2p machine, Lewis, when you put a 2p in?
Yeah.
It stacks up with 2p's.
Never falls off though, does it?
You watch it for hours. I mean, nobody ever comes out with more 2p's than they went in. But
you see kids trying to shake the machine sometimes, don't you? Trying to do it, and then the alarm goes off and they get removed from the premises.
We've all tried it as kids. But no, the 2p machine, it's like having, if your ad machine was a 2p machine, it's like having the 2p's all stacked, hovering over the edge, and it just needs you to get the machine up and running, put the 2p's in, and suddenly you can get more money coming out than you are putting in. And that's where you've got to view ads. I don't think people have that necessarily that viewpoint on ads until they start running them, until they learn how to build an ad campaign profitably.
Yeah, and to extend that analogy, the first 2p you put in the machine might not create the wave of income that you were hoping for. That's a bit like saying the first day you run ads might not generate you 10 sales. Okay, but we weren't expecting it to. It's a numbers game, and we need to almost zoom out so we can allow the average to give us the data back, rather than becoming emotionally attached to the result that happens on each day. So we say run ads when you have enough suppliers, you have enough products, your store's ready, everything's good. Like, we're not running ads until that point, because otherwise we're just pouring money down the drain. If we're pouring ads towards just one supplier, hoping they're the winner, we want to probably have 5 or 6 suppliers signed before we go live. And once we go live, 20, 30 pounds a day. I mean, the more you spend, the more data you'll accumulate, the more result you'll start to see, either result or no result very, very quickly. And once you've done that and you say, okay, I put 20 pounds in today and I generated a sale for 500 pounds. Okay, great. On that sale for 500 pounds, I netted, 150 pounds. Great. So I'm 130 pounds up in profit for the day. Perfect. Okay. Tomorrow I'm going to put another 20 in, see what happens. And then another 20. And then maybe over a month, you look at it and you say, right, I put in 500 pounds and I got out 2,500 in profit. Okay, great. Maybe next month I'll do another 5, or maybe I'll scale it up to 600, see what happens then. And so you gradually scale it up, assuming a profitable ROI. So when someone says to me, what's my budget for ads? I say unlimited, on the basis of a positive ROI. Because why would I stop spending money on ads if I was getting a really positive return on investment for it? I'd just keep pouring money in. If the machine's working, just keep feeding it.
Exactly. Yeah, just keep feeding it, because the more you put in, the more you get out. Another fairground analogy to sort of bring home why it makes sense to go for high ticket rather than low ticket dropshipping is like having 2 arcade machines in front of you, and you have the choice about which one you want to play. One is the low ticket arcade machine, one is a high ticket arcade machine. And you've got the choice, the low ticket, the jackpot for the low ticket machine is £50, whereas the jackpot for the high ticket dropshipping machine is £300. And it's differences in the cost of the product that you're selling, of course. But which machine are you going to play? With the £50 machine, you can only spend up to £50 and you need to get the jackpot, otherwise you're in the red. Whereas with the high ticket machine, you can spend up to £300 on tickets to win the machine, to win the jackpot, until you need it to work to get a jackpot and to be profitable. So it's a much larger amount that you can spend on an ad before you need to hit the jackpot, and therefore much larger margin for error, time to learn, time to find the right products, to make the right store, to build the right ad campaign, to learn from other people. It gives you time. I think for me, Lewis, why I went to high ticket is because I wanted to feel that margin, and I wanted to know I was going to be rewarded when the sales came in.
Yeah, exactly. It provides more of a cushion, more of a buffer for beginner level entrepreneurs who maybe haven't run a profitable ad campaign at scale before. It's like when the margins are that small, with some kind of consumer product brands, they'll make a loss on the first product. They might even make a loss on the second sale because they know that eventually they can start to make those economics work. And if they can front the ad spend required to acquire the customer in the first place, maybe on sale 2, they'll break even. Sale 3, they'll start to make money. And then it's about kind of trying to email market and retarget and send coupons and do kinds of things. Like, that's fine if you've got really deep pockets as a business. You're willing to look at those numbers and finances. You want a really kind of long lifetime value for the customer, and you want to try and play that game. And you can do that for sure. It works. But to start with, wouldn't it just be easier to make money on the first sale? Like, if there's a way of doing that, yes, your upside might be capped. You know, you might not get that website to £10 million a month, right? Fine. But we've got to start somewhere. Let's get it to 100K a month first, and then start to scale up. And if we find we hit a ceiling, okay, maybe at that point we pivot. We move into kind of different model. But yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of bring it back to the fairground machine topic that the analogy we've been using, I think that implies that the whole model is kind of quite a gamble, and it's gambling related. I guess the extension or the caveat to put on that is that you're designing your own machine. So it's like you get to play the machine, but you get to build it before you even play it, you know, because you're building the website, you're choosing the products that are in there, you're choosing the, the suppliers you partner with, the channels that you advertise on. So it's, I guess just in terms of like clarifying that one, I think it's probably, you can stack the cards in your favor and the odds in your favor as much as possible before you even put a penny into ad spend.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the way to look at it is that if you were seeing it as this arcade or this casino type of thing that we're building, you're not just the player, you're also the house, because you get to build the game and you get to take the winnings as well as so you're the player that gets to take the winnings, but you get to build the machine that you're actually playing in the first place, which is what happens when you choose a niche, when you build a store, when you build an ad campaign. You're building that business, you're building that machine that you get to play with to get money out of the back of it. And I like looking at it that way, Lewis. It's like a game. I think business is not a gamble. It's more of a game. It's like a machine that we build, and it is like playing a game where you get a profitable return, and that's the point of the game to play.
Yes, the whole of business is essentially a game. If you can gamify the journey and just enjoy the journey, then yeah, you're less worried about the specific outcome on any one day, because you just enjoy the process of solving challenges. The way I think of it is you've got benefits and challenges rather than like pros and cons. You've got benefits of running the business, which is the cash it brings in, the profit, the freedom that you've got. And then you've got challenges where it's like, okay, got to sign some suppliers. I've got to make my ads work more profitably. I've got to, do things, but they're just challenges that are problems to solve. They're games to win. They're things you can overcome. And in that way, you're never phased or feel like you've hit a brick wall as an entrepreneur. You're always just in challenge solving mode by default.
Yeah, it's a light-hearted way to look at it. When you get challenges, it's all part of the game, and you just move on. You don't see it as a full stop on these things. So bringing it back to the conversation again about why we think specifically high ticket is the future of e-commerce and why it's going to dominate this year. Anything else? We mentioned profit per sale. We mentioned low overhead costs. Anything beyond that you think is another reason why you think high ticket dropshipping is going to dominate?
Yeah, I think the other thing is customers are becoming more savvy. Their expectations are higher. People are more demanding about things like delivery speed. They want that fast Amazon Prime next day delivery experience. And so domestic dropshipping, where you're dropshipping products from the same country as where your customers are based. So the items are already in the country. Like for us, it's in the UK. Suppliers have the products in the UK. Customers we're selling to are mainly in the UK. Therefore, nice, fast 1, maybe 2-day delivery just makes the whole thing easier to manage. You've not got customers emailing you 6 weeks later saying, hey, do you have a tracking shipping code for my product that's halfway across the ocean that's coming? I don't need it anymore. Cancel the order. And you're like, it's on a boat. I can't do much about it. The supplier's not going to take it back to China. With this, it's very simple. Even if they did want to return a product like this, it's arrived already. As long as it's in a resaleable condition, most good suppliers will just take the items back. So you just contact the supplier, say, customer wants to return it, item goes back. Really simple for you to manage, and eventually for a virtual assistant to manage for you once you want to take yourself out of that business completely, out of the day-to-day.
Yeah, that's when things really get exciting, when you can take yourself out of the day-to-day business operations and just view it as the owner of business rather than the day-to-day operator. Customer expectations, yeah, I agree. I think that's something we've got to manage nowadays in the world of Amazon Prime. As a retailer, we have to be able to give good service and fast delivery. And that's going to come from high ticket dropshipping, when you can work with domestic suppliers who have products already in your country, rather than selling products that might be on the other side of the world, in China, for example. And customers just aren't willing to put up 3 or 4 week delivery times anymore. That is a bygone era. So suppliers, Lewis, it's a big part of high ticket dropshipping. Why do you think it's so important that you work with high quality suppliers?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that the reliability of your supplier dictates your brand's reputation. So if you work with some really flaky supplier that's like based halfway across the world and sometimes doesn't respond to your emails, and they send out products of questionable quality, and when there's a problem, they don't take the items back, you're the one taking the hit on the reputational damage that that creates, and also the financial damage that comes as a result of all the refund requests you get. So you have to, I think, zoom out initially and just ask yourself, what kind of business do I want to run? What kind of business do I want to wake up, open up my laptop to in the morning? Do I want an email inbox full of complaints and refund requests and, non-responses from the supplier about the questions I've asked? Or do I want to see 5, 6 orders that came in yesterday, were delivered today, profits in the bank? I didn't part with any money up front. The money came in first. Everything works. It's kind of a nice, easy business to run and manage for me as the business owner, but also the customers got a great experience. They're the ones that then go on to leave 5-star reviews and say how happy they were with it. The other thing is that with good suppliers, the product quality, things like quality control, making sure that the items have been inspected before they are sent out to customers, good suppliers will do that. And if your brand depends on the reviews that you get from suppliers, then you want to make sure you have that in place, because remember, we're not the ones inspecting the products before they go out. So we want to make sure we're partnering with brands that take pride in what they're sending out to customers. And then, just having a nice, strong supplier base. So 5, 6, 7, even some of our members have got 10, 15, 20 suppliers on their stores. I don't know if there's probably more than that I'm not aware of. There's some I'm sure I've got over 20. A strong supplier base will help you grow the business without having lots of problems along the way, because you have a nice diversified range of products that you can sell, and you're not all dependent on one supplier. You've not got all of your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, and that makes for a business that's built on solid foundations. When you've got lots of high quality suppliers, you're not reliant on any individual supplier, and you've got a nice broad range of high quality products in the niche that you've identified as being a highly profitable niche that you're going to go into. So something that a lot of members come into the program with, Lewis, is an idea of building a business that they want to be location independent with. They want to build a business that allows them to generate income no matter where they are in the world, because it just relies on a laptop and a Wi-Fi connection. So we think high ticket dropshipping is perfect. We've proven that with the way that we live our lives. But why do you think high ticket dropshipping lends itself so perfectly for location independence?
Sure. So it just ticks a lot of the boxes, doesn't it? In terms of, like you said, you only really need a computer, laptop. Probably do it from an iPad or an iPhone if you really needed to, but a laptop is almost like the basic thing that you would need to create one of these businesses and run it. Obviously an internet connection. We say Wi-Fi, but actually a lot of the time when I lived in Thailand, it was mobile hotspots. It was just using a personal hotspot from my phone and then tethering that to the computer and getting online that way if I wasn't in a cafe or something that had Wi-Fi. If I put myself back in Vietnam or Bali or wherever I was while running these businesses, I didn't have any physical inventory. I never had to touch any of the products that I was selling because I couldn't. That it was almost like it was removed as an option from me. That the temptation would have been, if I was just based in the UK the whole time, that I'd have been like, oh, well, I'll just pop down to the warehouse and, do a few things. I couldn't. I literally couldn't do that. So in a sense, that disadvantage actually was a benefit, because it forced me to create the entire business in a way that didn't require any personal, physical, in-person involvement from me. The other benefit that initially was maybe disguised as a disadvantage or a challenge, should we say, was that the time zones were off. So I wasn't awake a lot of the time when customers would have been calling. So hiring a virtual assistant, who, by the way, is someone in this world of AI, I think people sometimes misinterpret that and think that it means like an actual virtual computer, but it's not. It's a person who is almost like your business admin receptionist person that deals with phone calls from customers, forwards emails to suppliers, but they don't have to be based in the same place as you. We hire a lot of our team from the Philippines, where the average wage is a lot more affordable than it is in countries like the UK, but it's still a fantastic wage for them. It means that they don't have to go to a call center to work, and that they are able to work from home around their families. And then the business can just operate and serve across the country that you're serving in, or even across a global market if you want to expand it eventually, without you having to be there or even awake whilst the business is running. Now, there aren't many other systems that do that. Yes, you could be a freelancer, you could create an agency, you could do something that you're essentially selling your time as a service, but you've still got to be there. You've still got to be on those Zoom calls. You've still got to show up and trade your time in the middle of the night in the different time zone that you're in. With this, you just wake up, see the sales there, make sure everything worked okay, and it's like then you can just focus on growing the actual business. So quite unique in that sense.
It is. It's exciting though, because it removes previous barriers for entering a business, where in years gone by, perhaps you had to be located, if you're in the UK, in central London, in order for you to get the same level of opportunities as everyone else, because you needed to be nearby the people who had the finances to help you start a business, or you needed to be around other people that could inspire you or you could learn from it, and you had to be in these locations to really have a pretty good chance of succeeding in business. But that barrier has just been shattered nowadays with the fact that we can get information from anywhere in the world, and the fact we can run a business without having to actually be in a particular location. You could start essentially, as soon as you become profitable, you can start running that business from anywhere in the world overnight. And when you build the business, when you build the foundations of the business, you can do that from anywhere as well without having to rely on a physical location. So it's a huge thing. It's the reason why I first started. I was really wanting to travel and see the world. And it's the reason why I've been able to travel around Europe for the past 3 months, back in the UK now over Christmas and New Year. But it's only possible because of the fact that we set up the business in a way that allows us to run it from anywhere in the world. I'm not alone, am I, Lewis? We've got quite a few people in the program who are also running these location independent businesses. Have you got any other examples that come to mind?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a few that spring to mind of people who've created these types of businesses where they could absolutely just be fully location independent if they wanted to. Neil is a great example. So he's one of our members that recently hit the £95,000 in revenue mark within 5 months by finding a profitable niche and starting to leverage some of this automation and systems around it. So we recently had him on the podcast, actually. We'll leave a link below to that episode. Suraj, who's another member that we had on the podcast fairly recently, hit £100,000 with a high ticket dropshipping business using very simple systems, excellent customer service. And then Mason, another podcast interviewee that we had recently, one of our members, who is a professional footballer turned entrepreneur who scaled to £70,000 in sales on his e-commerce business using this home turf advantage model. So just a few examples there of many more.
Yeah, got some great examples on the channel and on the podcast, because you've got to really hammer it home why we think it's such a big deal, such a big opportunity for people. We can back it up with success stories. For anyone that wants to listen to that, I think episode 99 was Suraj's. It's called How Suraj Made 100K with High Ticket Dropshipping. And it's a great example for someone wanting to make it happen, wanting to get into this business and start on the right foot. So have a watch of that or listen of that after this episode. Now, for somebody that's interested, wants to get started with high ticket dropshipping this year, Lewis, what would your advice be for them to get started?
Yeah, try to emotionally disconnect yourself from the products that you think you're going to sell. If you can come into it as a blank canvas and pick a niche that's based on data. So for example, something that's in demand, something that has a variety of suppliers who are already willing to dropship for you, something that is trending upwards and not hugely seasonal, something where you've got enough people searching for those products, so there's enough customer demand there. And these types of things, they're a few of many criteria that we take you through to ensure that the products that you're thinking about selling are backed up by real world data and not just a kind of gut feeling of, I think this might work, but I'm not sure. The second would be to set up systems early in the process, making sure that you've got your automation in place. Just makes scaling easier as things start to ramp up. If you can operate well with systems at 1 sale per day, imagine when you're at 10, 15 sales per day, you have the systems in place. The virtual assistants are trained on how to do things. You don't have to get any more involved at 10, 15 sales per day. than you did at one sale per day. So set it up for scale from the beginning would be my advice. And then just partner with reliable suppliers. You can never stop adding suppliers to your store because we're not limited by physical warehouse space. We haven't got a bedroom full of product boxes and products that we have to try and sell. So we've got as unlimited digital real estate effectively through our Shopify stores. So we can just put those items on there. We can sign more high quality suppliers, but choose suppliers that you can trust to deliver quality products and a good service to your customers, because your brand will depend on it.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's how we go about creating that arcade machine that we were talking about before, Lewis. Those 3 steps: pick a niche, set up systems so it's ready to scale, and then partner with reliable suppliers so you can provide a great service to your customers, and you'll be well on your way. Now, we know, Lewis, that a lot of people will listen to this advice, hear about this opportunity, see this opportunity, and not take action. Just the way of the world, a lot of people listening won't take action on this, but there will be some people out there who really do want to achieve that location-independent lifestyle. They want to reach their potential, they want to achieve financial freedom, and they want to build a life that's better for themselves and their families. Those people are the people that we want to get around as much as possible. So for those people that do want to make a difference, where would you recommend that they go to get started?
Yeah, we've tried to put everything for you into one place to make it as straightforward and step-by-step as possible so you can't get overwhelmed. So if you are ready to start and you think, yeah, I like the sound of this, I want to do this, and you're listening to us right now and you've enjoyed this and thought, that's the kind of business I want to run, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start for all the resources that you need to get started.
Are you enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. And for detailed show notes and resources, visit dropshipunlocked.com/podcast. If you found value in any episode of this podcast, please could you take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your favorite podcast app? It helps us more than you can imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments read out on the show. Thanks for being a part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering new episodes to you every week.
Now it's time to answer a question that we've received from a listener. Now remember, if you want to get your questions in and you want to ask Lewis and I a question, simply comment beneath the YouTube video version of this episode, and not only will it be answered in the comments, but it may also be answered on an upcoming podcast episode. So this week, the question has come in from Gaz Jenkins. So Gaz has got a great question for you, Lewis, which I'll ask you now. He's asked, brilliant video, looking to do this myself. Do you do one-to-one coaching?
Interesting. Thanks for your question, Gaz. So occasionally we do. However, what I find is that people actually, while they might think they want one-on-one coaching, what they benefit more from, what I see, is being in a community where they're getting that one-on-one coaching in a group environment, because you get to hear other people's questions that you might not have even thought of yourself. And you get to hear people who are a few steps ahead of you and then foresee those questions and challenges that they have before they even become questions in your mind. So it keeps you moving ahead without you needing to hit all the same stumbling blocks yourself. So what we focus on in our Dropship Unlocked Masterclass program is comprehensive training and support to try and get you to the point where you actually don't need to have any coaching or ask any questions, because the answers are all there in the videos. So that way we're able to really kind of tailor your journey through. However, we do also include twice weekly question and answer calls on Zoom, where you can jump on and speak with either myself or James to ask any questions that come up for you as you grow and scale your business. Also, our program does include community support as well. So even if you're not able to jump on one of those Q&A calls that we host twice a week, the community is full of other e-commerce business owners who are there to support you on your journey and help you along the way. They've been where you are, we've been where you are, so we can help along the way. And occasionally we might offer some one-on-one coaching stuff, but when we do that, it will only be to members of our masterclass program. So the way to be in the right place for that is to be part of the masterclass.
Perfect. Yeah, cheers, guys. Looking forward to seeing you inside the program soon if you decide that's for you. So thank you, Lewis. Now it's time to highlight a recent review that we've had for the podcast as well. So a big thank you to Helen Bunn for sharing her thoughts in a recent review. So Helen said, amazing. Been thinking about this for a while, but needed some direction, and you delivered.
Thank you so much for your review, Helen. We're really glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast. And quick question for you. If this episode resonated with you today, would you consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from it? Your recommendations really help us grow our community and continue to deliver valuable content, hopefully like you found this one today. So a really quick share on WhatsApp or sending it to your friend could make a big difference to someone that you know.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you are leaving with new insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey.
To kickstart your e-commerce business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. It's the perfect place to start and get access to resources that will help you build your business from the ground up.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more episodes packed with strategies, tips, and success stories. Plus, if you enjoyed this episode today, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might even get a shout out on the next episode.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.